Hello, today I was reviewing this espresso machine and I just got out of the box, and the first thing you need to do is clean all the parts that come off. You have the tank, water tank here, comes off the back. You have the tray, which is in 3 parts here. They go on the bottom there. You have the bean hopper and lid. You have the strainers. You got the single and the double strainers. You got this that holds the strainer. I don't know what it's called. And then you got the creamer cup where you could froth your cream and stuff. I'm no expert in espresso stuff. I'm not trained at all, so I'm just learning as some of you may be. So all these need to be hand washed. None of them, you all have a symbol on here, do not dishwash up. But anyway, I just hand wash all this with some soap and water, put it back together, fill up your tank, and the next part of the cleaning cycle will be running the steam through the various elements to clean the machine for the first time. Okay, I'm going to get to washing these in the sink, and I'll get back to you when I put it all back in the machine. Okay, I have everything cleaned up here. I'm going to put it back together. I'll put one of these cups in. Bean grinder. It's supposed to click in there. There you go. So where you have this lock and unlock kind of line up there, seems to. There you go, locks in right there. It's a lid. In the back here, the water tank. There you go, and kind of a little switch there. I'm gonna put some water in it. Picture here. That's 8 cups. Looks like it'll hold a bit more. There's a max levels right here. So we've got about 8 cups. So you're about an inch away from the max. You got the stickers you don't want for it to take off before you use it. A little stuck on this thing here. There you go. It didn't actually come off. It split in half, the sticker. There you go. Alright. There you go. That's ready to go through the clean cycle here. Okay, now I'm going to go through priming the machine. Press that. Okay. Okay, so we're going to put the basket on here. Okay. And press the rinse. Alright, empty out this cup. It says last step to open up the steam dial for 10 seconds. Okay. And that pretty much covers cleaning it. Alright, now I'm going to do a test brew. Fill this up with some espresso beans. They say to for adjusting the how coarse it is, they say to start your first test brew at 3, right in the middle there, and you pretty much adjust from 1 to 6. Seems to go further, but 1 to 6 is what they have the markings for. Make sure your filter's dry. They say first to run it through here to warm up the piece. Hit that, and press on that drop button, and it will pour some water out through it. Warm up the filter, which I recommend. And I say to dry it out. It's gonna be hot, so. Okay, so for the first use, make sure you don't have it all the way down to the bottom there. Because having your filter already filled with grinds, put it just a little bit above to where there's a little cup with the arrow pointing down into it. And then when you put on your filter, and make sure your settings are already set to 3 for the first time for how fine it will be, and then just push all the way to close. It'll start grinding right away. Make sure you have the 2x for the double filter and 1x for, or just not set for the single. I have the double on right now, and once you go, it's gonna start grinding. And then at this point you do the tamper to kind of smash it down. They don't say do it all the way, but to where you start feeling pressure. And then you could check it here. So it's not to the max level yet there. But tamp it down like So now actually doing 2 small ones that completely filled it up right up to the line. And then once that's done, you move it over to the coffee side. And close it tight there. Let's pick what you want there. Coffee, Americano, or Espresso. And then hit the OK button. You see the gauge here for the pressure. As long as it doesn't go in the red zone there, you're in optimal pressure. So there you have that right here. Smells like espresso. And you can do the cream. Say about that much. And we'll set it in here. I'm going to move this out of the way. So we'll do for foam. Then we on the side here, you turn this dial. Alright, full cup. I'm no expert at this, but pour your cream or however much you want in there. And there you go. So for the water container, here you can fill it up. The whole thing comes off. It slides on the back. So you don't really have to move your unit much from the wall. You slide it on just like that. Again, you can take it off just the same. So there you go. Okay, so for making an espresso, have it to the espresso. Make sure you have your amount of grinds dialed in. Have the grinder set to 3, which is factory default. I'm using the 2X cup in here. First turn it on, let it heat up the water. It'll stop blinking to OK once it's ready. You could actually grind while it's doing that. And just turning the thing to the closed position will start the grind. And then tamp it down. Right to that just the beginning of that third bar. Right there. Okay, now the OK is not blinking anymore. You got your grinds here. Tamp down. Now I could hook it up to the coffee, or where the espresso will come out. Have your cup. I like to put a tablespoon of sugar in there first at the bottom, and then hit OK to run your espresso. You'll see the dial here, once it gets going, it'll go up a ways. Meantime, you can get your either whole milk or half and half. I kind of like half and half better. Put about 3/4 of an inch in there. Now the espresso's done, but I'll leave it in there and let it drip for a little bit while I make the foam froth. So on the side here, you just turn the dial all the way, have it out just for a second, and put it in about a 1/4 inch or so. Kind of angle it so you can try to get a whirlpool going around in there. I just let it go until the little kettle gets full to the top. There you go. Now take this out, give it a little stir. Get this out of the way. And then I'll put half of it in initially. I'll stir it up, kind of get this sweetness up into the froth. And then I pour the rest in. And there you go. So after I do the espressos, I usually get it cleaned off. I just turn on the steamer, paper towel or rag. And just kind of get that cleaned off. Then you can just shut off the power and it's done. And cleaning out this gets really tight in there, so I usually get a spoon to kind of start digging it out. And then a few taps, so you get pretty clean. Just rinse it off the rest of the way.
Today I will be reviewing the DeLonghi La Specialista. I will be highlighting its strengths and weaknesses while at the same time comparing it with the Breville Barista Express. I will try to make the best coffee I can with either machine. What that means is with the DeLonghi, because I only have dual wall filters or pressurized filters, I can only use that. I'm going to make a 2-cup espresso. With the Breville, I have the option to use a dual wall or a single wall, and I will definitely use the single wall because I believe I can get a really good extraction with that. So let's start by turning the machines on. The Specialista. there's no sound. The Breville, a lot of sound. It's a lot louder. So before we start, we want to make sure our water levels are good and our coffee beans. We have a coffee bean indicator that's lit, which means I need to add beans to the hopper. So I'm going to check the water. The water container's in the back. You got to reach all the way in the back. So if you're under a counter or something, it might be a little difficult. And you fill this up. This could use some more water. And notice, I noticed a lack of a water filter in here. I'll show you the Breville. It's got a handle, so a little easier to pull up. And you see a filter here. I'm not sure why DeLonghi decided not to include one there. So now I'm going to fill up the hopper with some beans because it's running low. The Breville doesn't have a low bean indicator, but you can clearly see there's still a few left. So I'm going to open this vacuum sealed bag and put in some beans. Next thing I want to do is clean the group head, which is this area right here, and warm up the portafilter at the same time. The Specialista has a rinse option, which is really cool. You just press it and it just releases some water. So I'm going to hook in the portafilter, rinse that up. Doesn't make too much noise. I stop that. If I want to do that with a Breville, it doesn't have a rinse. I have to pop it in and actually start much louder and let the portafilter warm up. I want to dry these up. Now that they're dried up, I want to put them right in here so I can get the grind that I want. As soon as I click it in, the grinder will automatically start. I have a setting here for how much coffee I want ground, and have it on the finest setting. There's only 6 settings in this one, and they're all pretty coarse. And that's because we have a pressurized portafilter, which makes having finely ground espresso unnecessary at a price. So once I click it, it'll start. No mess. Tamper's right here. Press that down. I'm not thrilled about the lever here for the tamper because it feels a little loose. Like if I press a little too hard, I might bust it up. And you can see these look pretty coarsely ground. And now the grind on the Breville, I have it set. There's 18 settings, I believe, and I have it on something much finer than the Specialista, and I have it adjusted here. So we'll get that going. So with the Breville, I have to use the tamper that's included here and manually tamp it and get about 20 to 30 pounds of force, which is really not much. It's about this much. And notice how finely ground it is. Big difference. If you put them side by side, you'll notice the difference right away. So I've put the portafilters into the group head with the coffees ready. The Specialista has an additional tray here. When you're using a small cup, you can put it right under. Notice the hot water discharges right here, so when you're making your Americano, it's really nice. You can do that while it's making the espresso. And the the Breville, I put it right under here. So we'll start with the Specialista. I have it on 2 cups, and I hit OK when I'm ready. Nice and quiet operation. It's ready to brew pretty quickly. Doesn't take long at all. Notice the pressure gauge is in the espresso zone, the optimal zone as it's called. Get a nice crema there, nice color. I haven't adjusted the volume, so this is factory. And now we'll start with the Barista Express, much louder, you see. At the end of the optimal zone, which is where I love my coffee to be. I get a nice extraction, rich flavors. But if we get close and compare the cremas, they both look lovely. So both shots look very similar. They both have a lovely crema. The color, once they've settled, is almost the same. It really depends on the taste. And I've tasted them. I have my preference. I really think that with a single wall I can get, and a finer grind I can get more depth of flavor. but that's personal. So what's left right now is to clean it up. Now you want to empty the portafilter. This is where I always have a tough time with the Specialista. It really doesn't like, it makes a huge mess. It's very annoying. On the Breville, the puck's gone. So now you just have to rinse these out. So we saw here making a double shot espresso. I could have made an Americano, which would have filled it up with water at the same time, or a coffee. What that means is that there won't be any pre-infusion. Pre-infusion means that before the water is pushed through with pressure, it just fills it up at low pressure just to kind of wet the coffee. The coffee selector doesn't do that. It skips the pre-infusion. The Barista Express does not have these options. There's just a 1 cup and a 2 cup. And if you want to make an Americano, you've got the water nozzle, which is here on the side, and you have to move your cup over. The other thing that I wasn't very thrilled with on the Specialista is that you get 2 temperature settings. They only say regular and high, whereas the Breville gives you 3 options, and they actually tell you what the temperature is. And if you have a coffee from a roasting house where they tell you, for example, this coffee requires 18 grams at 95 degrees, extracted for 30 seconds. Well, where's the 95? I don't know what the temperature is on this. So, but it does have something interesting, which is the frother. It takes a lot of the work away from you. You can lower it to get a nice foam, and raise this little thing so you can get a flat kind of cream. The catch with this is that you have to unscrew it and pull it out to wash this every time. I don't have to do that on the Breville. I just have to rinse it, and I can soak it, as you would probably this too. So I think it's a little easier on the wand maintenance. Now this one has a steeper learning curve because you have a wand with 1 hole, and if you want to get a nice microfoam, you have to practice a lot. The Specialista does the work for you. So to summarize, what I really like about the Specialista is it's a very quiet operation. It comes on pretty quick. The steam is ready almost right away. Just turn it on and you're good to go. The Breville, you gotta wait a while. You have to wait till it warms up. Now if you do it right after an espresso, it takes less time because the mechanism's already warmed up. So you have some flexibility on this machine with the type of coffee you want to make. I said it's very quiet. It looks elegant. It's got a low bean warning. It's got a low water warning as well because you can't see the water container. The Breville doesn't have that. You have to actually look, and you can get into trouble if you run out of water and you're doing something that you shouldn't. The programmability, the My button, I believe with the X2, you press those down and you can get into the menu so you can program if you're using soft water, if you're using the higher regular temp, if you want to make your shots longer. So it has some nice features. If you're starting off and this is your first machine, wow, this is a great machine. If you had something and you're used to a single wall filter like I am, and I have a really nice machine at work that's a single wall and I'm used to awesome extraction, I have to convince myself to keep using this so I could see if I can get the same flavors that I get with the Breville. We'll see. I'm not decided whether or not I'm going to continue using this machine, but it's an excellent machine. Give it a try. If this is your first one, wow again. If you're upgrading, it's a really nice upgrade. So I'm adding this section in case you're wondering why you should go with a Specialista, why you shouldn't go with a Specialista, and comparing it to the very popular Barista Espresso. I'll give you my opinions on that. So first things first, the DeLonghi is a beautiful machine. It is bigger if you have the counter space for it, but it's really a lovely looking machine. And DeLonghi makes reliable stuff. All the machines I've had in the past have lasted me a long time without any issues. We have a built-in grinder, very few settings of course, and that's due to the pressurized filter, but that saves you the trouble of having to buy a grinder. The integrated tamper on the machine makes for no mess, so you have less to clean up. Now, from the beginner to the enthusiast, you're always going to get a very good espresso from this machine. I managed to extract a pretty good espresso shot from this every time I tried it. I had to pass the recommended line for the coffee amount. I'm using the finest grind, and I get the needle, about up to here, and I get a very good extraction every time, and it's consistent. Another nice thing with the settings, you get the water dispenser that's very close to where the coffee, to the group head, so you can get your Americano without moving anything. And you also have the option for coffee, which skips the pre-infusion. Some people might like that. I think the volumes are doubled for the coffee setting though. What else is nice? It's got the rinse function, so you can warm up your portafilter or rinse. And it also has a low coffee and low water indicator, because you can't see the water levels. And well, you can see the coffee, but it's nice to have the indicator to remind you. The other thing that's good for beginners is the frother. It's got the foam setting, the flat setting, so it takes a lot of the work out for you. All you have to do is move your cup up and down, and you can get a very good foam. So now, why wouldn't you get this machine? Well, it is a $900 machine. It only comes with pressurized filters, so your best espresso is limited by that. I found that the portafilter was very difficult to empty. And the other thing I don't like when you make coffees all the time is you have to remove the nozzle to clean it every time. This is an extra step for me that just adds more time to my coffee routine. And the question many people wonder is it worth getting the Barista Express versus the Specialista? If you already have the Barista Express, I would tell you do not upgrade, because it's not really an upgrade. If you are getting a better coffee with a Specialista over the Barista Express, you probably did something wrong. You can really fine tune this, the beans, the quantity, the grind, the tamp with a single wall filter, and get an awesome coffee. But it does take time, and you have to really want to. So I am getting better shots with this. What else I like about this? I don't have to remove the part of the wand, the nozzle, so I can clean it up. I just take a cloth and wipe it down, and it's much easier to clean out to empty out the portafilter. So you have more settings on the grinder, so you can get a larger variety of coffees, which you can also grind for anything that you don't need this machine for. Let's say you want to grind some coffee for a camping trip or something. You do have a tamper that you have to use, so you do need counter space for tamping your coffee, where the Specialista doesn't need that. But as you can see, it is a taller unit, and it is deeper as well. Of course, I have had issues with the machine, so I'm not going to do a review on this one, but if you already have this, you don't need this. You're going to get a better coffee with this. If you don't have this, this is awesome. Really, if you've never made coffees before, or if you're just starting off, this thing will give you excellent coffees all the time. Just my preference is I get excellent plus coffees with this one.
Cappuccino, 1 Splenda, double shot.
Today we're doing a quick review of the DeLonghi coffee maker, espresso maker, cappuccino maker. A couple of things we've noticed since we've had it. One is we've never been able to get a good cup of coffee out of it. The water temperature for making the espresso shots seems to be too cold. Even when I found out online how to set it at a hotter temperature, it seems to be uncontrolled. The steam wand puts water into your milk. When you go to froth your milk, you end up with about 2 ounces of water added to your milk, which makes it watery, makes it pretty bad. Trying to control the pressure in your shot is very difficult. It seems like there's a fine line between no pressure and too much. The finest grind on the coffee is almost not fine enough. There's only 5 settings. The 2, 3, 4, and 5 are just way too large and too coarse of beans to get any good coffee out of. 1 is about where you need to be. The system itself for grinding and tamping the coffee, tampering, whatever that is, pressing it down. Actually, the grinding itself, the grinder works fine. The tampering system is a spring-loaded arm, and it puts coffee into this portafilter, this very deep and very narrow portafilter. So what we believe is happening is that the pressure from the water or steam or water steam going into the portafilter is trying to get through a large amount of coffee, which means pressure at any one point on the coffee is very minimal. The coffee that comes out is extremely bitter at any grind setting, any pressure setting, any amount of coffee setting, and any amount of tampering that you try to do. If you don't do enough tampering, it comes out watery. If you do too much tampering and you grind it too fine and you put too much coffee in, it's very, you can get up to beyond the optimal zone. What else is some stuff we don't like? Well, we talked about the foamer, which just spits water into the coffee. The whole system is just too cold, not enough control, and it seems like they packaged so much stuff into a very simple machine or into a very complex machine, but a complex machine that does everything inadequately. So inadequate amount of grinding. You can only have 5 choices in size. The amount of steam and control of the steam wand for steaming, again, puts water into the coffee. The tampering device. This is a good one. It automatically grinds your coffee, and then you need to tamper it while it's in there, because if you forget to tamper it, you can't put it back in without setting the grinder off again. The machine itself is relatively inexpensive, $700 to $800 compared to some other models that boast all these other features. But as far as comparing it to, say, a Breville or other machine that costs maybe double the cost to triple the cost, this isn't even worth 10 cents on the dollar from the standpoint of the coffee that it makes. Cappuccino, espresso, anything you make in this machine was horrendous and terrible. We've had, 5, 6 different machines. This is the first one we are sending back. Thank you, Amazon, and have yourself a great day. To our wonderful audience who hopefully will learn something about DeLonghi, a name that we thought was a pretty decent name, maybe for other machines, but not this one. Have a great day.
Donc, la machine est ouverte, allumée ici, ça c'est à la bonne place. Puis là, si je devrais attendre le voyant lumineux pour dire que c'est chaud, ça marche pas. Puis ça fait quand même un bon moment que c'est allumé. Puis si j'appuie ici, ça marche pas. Il n'y a rien qui tombe. Il n'y a rien qui tombe. Puis l'eau est pleine. L'eau est pleine.
Broken. Just setting it up. I'll just try to get it set up today. And it doesn't work. Doesn't work. Doesn't work. Doesn't work.